All right, the World Baseball Classic final is tonight, Tuesday night, United States and Venezuela. So, how did we get here? So, for the United States, this was kind of a rocky path. Uh, Started out strong, beat Brazil and Great Britain by a large margin, although the Great Britain game was a little closer than you would like to see early in the game. However, the U.S., the rest of the way, this has really been have lived on the edge. And in a way, Venezuela has too. They've not been blowing these teams out. The United States was expected to just roll through much of the World Baseball Classic. That has not happened. The offense hasn't really been there a lot of the games. A lot of times it's taken several innings for the U.S. to start breaking through. So, um, obviously, after the big scare of nearly missing going on to the second round after losing to Italy in pool play, the U.S. gets in, beats Canada, not extremely impressively, but takes care of business there, and then plays the Dominican Republic. So going into that game, I was pretty nervous because the Dominican Republic had just been blasting people. Uh, I believe they had 14 or 15 home runs going into the U.S. game. And that was a roster where pretty much everybody in the lineup is an all-star, a former Silver Slugger, MVP, whatever. These are some of the best players in the entire world. This is one of the best lineups you could possibly come up with. And they were hitting much better than the United States was hitting going into this game. And the preview for the game was kind of, okay, these are probably the best two lineups in the world and going against two of the better pitchers, particularly Paul Skeens. So would Paul Skeens be able to shut this lineup down? You saw in the pregame, some of the people were saying, oh, if he can shut this lineup down, he'll be the best pitcher of all time. Well, the U.S. totally handled their business against the Dominican Republic. Still didn't hit. Everyone was expecting high-scoring games. That's not what happened. The U.S. only managed 2 runs on 2 solo home runs. The Dominican Republic, however, only had 1 run on a solo home run from Junior Caminero. So the U.S. performance from the pitchers and the defense was historically good. Like, let's just take a look at what they were facing in the lineup for the Dominican Republic. So you had Fernando Tatis Jr. He's a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove, 2-time Silver Slugger, 2-time Platinum Glover. There's Ketel Marte, 3-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, NLCS MVP. There's Manny Machado, who's probably going to the Hall of Fame, 7-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove, 3-time Silver Slugger, Platinum Glover. All right, Juan Soto, one of the highest paid players on the planet, 4-time All-Star, batting title, 6-time Silver Slugger. Vladimir Guerrero, 5-time junior, obviously, 5-time All-Star, Gold Glover, 2-time Silver Slugger, ALCS MVP. Julio Rodriguez, Rookie of the Year, 3-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger. You have Junior Caminero, who was a rookie last year and hit 45 home runs. He's already been an All-Star. And Geraldo Perdomo, another young guy who had a great year last year, has been an All-Star and a Silver Slugger. That's the lineup you were facing. There's no easy outs in the Dominican Republic lineup, and yet the United States managed to hold them to 1 run on 8 hits. So that was you couldn't really have a more impressive performance. Paul Skeens gave up 1 run in his outing. So that was astounding, but what was not great is, again, the United States hasn't been hitting really up to what was expected of them. On the other side of the bracket, Venezuela. So Venezuela was the second seed out of their pool because of losing to Dominican Republic. So they had the unenviable task of taking on Japan. Japan's won 3 World Baseball Classics. No one else has won more than one. They're the defending champions. Venezuela got down in that game. Kind of looked like the game was just pretty close to over. Japan was up a few runs. Venezuela has a late game comeback, beats Japan, moves on. Okay, well then in their game Monday night against Italy, Italy had been kind of the Cinderella story of the whole World Baseball Classic. They had been hitting really well, beat the United States, obviously, which had been the favorite team going into the World Baseball Classic. Venezuela gets down early and then has yet another comeback, scores pretty much all the runs in the 7th inning. So these are two teams who have not made it easy. They are very talented rosters. On Venezuela, you've got guys like Ronald Acuna Jr., Luis Arias, who's won multiple batting titles. You've got Michael Garcia, another very young, very good player. So Venezuela is another totally loaded roster. I would not say their roster is not what the Dominican Republic's was, but it's an extremely good roster. Probably the 4th best roster talent-wise you would have expected going into the World Baseball Classic. So these are two very talented teams who apparently like drama and who like to come up big in late game situations. So we will see what happens tonight, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, U.S. Venezuela. So what are we really looking for here? Well, no Paul Skeens for the United States tonight. No Tarek Skubal, who had a 1-game agreement with the Tigers to only pitch 1 game. Kind of wish maybe we had saved him for this. But gonna have a very young pitcher going for the United States. We've got Noah McLean from the Mets. He had a very good year last year. Had a little bit of a rocky outing in his first World Baseball Classic start. We'll see how he fares against what's going to be a very good Venezuela roster. So, what do I think is going to happen? Well, the thing is, the United States just has not been hitting. So I think it's probably a little naive to think that suddenly that they're going to start really hitting well. You haven't gotten a lot out of some of these players that you would have expected to have a really good World Baseball Classic. You have Kyle Raleigh, really cold. Bryce Harper's really cold. So those are two of the better players in all of Major League Baseball, and you're just not getting anything out of them. Aaron Judge probably hasn't had a great series offensively. He did have a home run. He's got a few hits. Aaron Judge's biggest contribution to the United States has probably been his defense, gunning guys down at third base. You saw that in the Dominican Republic game. That was a huge play where Fernando Tatis Jr. is going for third base, probably an ill-advised decision, and Aaron Judge just guns him down at third base. It's the second time in the World Baseball Classic that Aaron Judge has done that, gun somebody down at third base throwing over 90 miles an hour. So that was a phenomenal play. So he's definitely coming up big on defense. You had some very big defensive plays for the United States. You've got guys pitching like David Bednar, who, again, another guy who evidently likes drama, because in his last 2 outings coming in relief, the U.S. has gotten in a really bad jam, guys in scoring position, and then he has just locked down and been borderline unhittable after he's got guys in scoring position. So we're going to see the U.S. probably is not going to just be able to continually rely on a parade of relief pitchers doing really well. I'm interested to see how Mark DeRosa handles Trevor Rogers. He has come onto the roster from the Orioles. He is the Orioles opening day starter. Had a really good year last year with a sub-2 ERA. He came in relief against the Dominican Republic for 1 out and got the out, did a very good job, and we didn't see him anymore. So we'll see. Is he going to pitch at all tonight? I don't know. They have to be really careful with guys in the World Baseball Classic. Teams do not want their guys getting hurt in this matchup. So another thing I wanted to talk about, kind of got out of order here, with the Dominican Republic game. So the controversy has been the last out. Geraldo Perdomo, Arizona Diamondbacks shortstop, was up to bat for the Dominican Republic, 1-run game, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. So he is called out on a pitch that is not a strike. And I've seen a lot of debate about whether the pitch was a strike, what ABS would have called it, what a robot umpire basically would have called it. And I'm seeing stuff all over the map. It was not a strike. Okay. The pitch was not a strike. It looks like a good pitch, but it sunk before it crossed the plate. That pitch was not a strike. It was below his knees. However, there's kind of this narrative out there almost that, Perdomo got cheated. It was a bad call. However, what everybody seems to be leaving out is this was an umpire who had a very large strike zone, and that was evident throughout the game, but especially in the later innings. We had already seen some very bad calls from the umpire, just to be perfectly honest. And you had seen Bryce Harper had 2 calls against him that were wrong. He was called out on pitches that were not strikes. Will Smith in the top of the ninth had a very similar situation to Perdomo. It was not a strike, and he's called out on it. So this was not a one bad call, poor Dominican Republic. The guy had a big strike zone. It was very clear throughout the game he had a big strike zone, particularly at the bottom of the zone. That should have been something that obviously you're not thinking, man, this umpire is missing a lot of calls. I'm going to swing at pitches that aren't strikes. Well, the thing is, you've got 2 strikes against you, the bottom of the ninth. You've already seen that the guy has a really big zone, particularly lower in the zone. He's calling a lot of pitches low that are not strikes. He's also calling pitches outside that are not strikes. So the guy's zone is massive. You cannot put the game in the hands of the umpire there and not swing. I mean, that's not the way it should be. That's not the way it should be. The World Baseball Classic should have had an ABS system. We need to go to, the Major League Baseball is going to have an ABS system so they can challenge calls this year. I mean, I'm to the point where I think that baseball is pretty much going to have to go to a robotic umpire situation because we can see this. We can see on TV that they're missing the calls. And I'm not saying it's not a difficult job. I'm sure it's an extremely difficult job. I wouldn't want it. But the fact of the matter is everybody at home can see whether it's a strike or a ball. And so if we can know that on TV as the viewer, there's no reason that baseball shouldn't be able to know that and get the calls right. So Perdomo should not have been in a situation where that's going to be called a strike. Or he should have at least been able to challenge it like he would be able to in Major League Baseball this season. So baseball's got to do something about that. I would like to see more than just a couple challenges available a game, because calls like that are just kind of mess with the game. You had an incredible game and it ends on a horrible call. So, but from the standpoint of, did the Dominican Republic get cheated? No, the Dominican Republic did not get cheated. The United States had to play with the same umpire, had the same bad calls, and Dominican Republic couldn't get it done. You don't leave it in the hands of one strike call. So we'll see how the game tonight against Venezuela goes. I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. It's been a fantastic World Baseball Classic, as it always is. This is some of the best high-quality baseball you're going to see, and it really means a lot to these guys. They said that Julio Rodriguez for the Dominican Republic said this would have meant more to him to win the World Baseball Classic than to win the World Series. That for a lot of us was, whoa, really? But this is because it's national pride playing for their country. And you can feel that, guys. It is electric. Guys are really, really serious about this, and I love it. I love that passion, that energy. So we'll see tonight. Who do you think's going to win? Do you think it'll be the U.S. or Venezuela? We'll talk about that game um, after. So go U.S.